Knowing that a few days before I came out here, she essentially cheated on me with her ex.
He said that he wouldn't mind having a threesome with me and Tiffany.
Girl? Oh, hell no.
Hi guys, welcome back to Nikki Faces Reality. We're here to discuss the latest episode of Love in Paradise. I don't know how many episodes we have left, but all of these couples are doomed. So let's get into everything that happened in this latest episode. Before we do, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, let's start with Alex and Adriano. This is the tale of trying to force a square into a circle, okay? This trip to Italy has been hellish for Alex, okay? Hellish, but with beautiful views, okay? Because we see Alex, she's getting ready, all dolled up, because she's gonna go on a boat ride with Adriano on the Amalfi Coast. I'm so jealous. I'm honestly shocked that she's doing any more activities with this man because she's expressing how confused she is at his disrespect. Because as you guys recall, they had this lovely beach moment, only for it to be tainted by him requesting a threesome with some random girls on the beach. I'm just like, he's told you who he is blatantly. At this point, it's one of those situations where you're kind of breaking your own heart, you know? But her cousin stops by because it's her last day in Italy. And she makes it very clear that she did not like Adriano, and her impression of him did not change with finally meeting him face to face. And I just think it's hilarious that Alex is like, I'm so glad that my cousin came here because she really opened my eyes to so much. And I'm like, did she? Because you still keep doing stupid things. What exactly was illuminating for you? Because you're still, you know, going with the motions. Like, she's not doing anything with those thoughts. And her cousin is like, I honestly am shocked that you're going to see him. I thought that you would have been broken up by now because, like, what are you doing here, right? And so she's not satisfied with just telling Alex that she shouldn't be in this relationship. She's like, you know what? I'm going to call our auntie because she's going to tell you the truth. And so they tell their auntie everything that's happened. And her auntie's like, 2 + 2 is 4. You want marriage. You want a God-fearing man. You want someone that's just about you. This man is literally the opposite of what you say you want. And you guys, this is when Alex drops the bombshell that Adriano went as far as saying that he would be into a threesome with her cousin. Can you imagine hearing that? So again, I ask myself, what are you doing getting ready to meet him again? That's crossing a big line. Because I'm trying to think, what could possibly be his rationale? Did he think that that would make her feel more comfortable to have her cousin involved? Worms for brains, that man. And still, with having all of this information, Alex is a bit of a dumbass in love. I don't even want to call it love. I really do think it's infatuation and the fact that, like, they're in this fantasy, you know? He picks her up in this, like, Vespa-looking thing, and they're riding along, and it's this scenic route, and I get it. It's a fantasy. It feels good. You're like, wow, am I in my own novel? But you're literally on vacation. This isn't your real life, and you keep disassociating from your real life to force this to happen. And she says, she's like, you know, this is how he gets me. He's so handsome, and we're in this beautiful place. And I'm like, but you're there, what, twice a year? This isn't your real life. I know that we've all done stupid things for the D, but Alex, there are levels to this. We finally see them on the boat ride, and Adriano is reflecting on their time. He's like, I'm sad that it's her last day, but this trip has been terrible. We've been fighting nonstop. I wonder why you've been fighting so much. And so he goes in for a dip, and Alex looks like the most depressed woman in the world, even though she's in this beautiful place. She's literally Eeyore, just like, and this is what happens when you try to make a husband out of a one-night stand. You find yourself in stupid situations like this, okay? She's like, we're in paradise, but it's far from picture perfect. And I'm like, yeah, girlie, go back home. And so he comes back on the boat, and she tells him that she told her cousin what he said. And I can see in his face that he didn't expect her to reveal that information. And then he goes on to say, well, I wasn't, oops, sorry. He goes, I wasn't really, hoping to have a threesome with her. I was just saying whatever it took to get you to do it. Come again? What? And he's like, yeah, she's not really my type. And I know that Alex is upset about him even proposing this, but then she gets upset about him offending her cousin. She's like, so now you're disrespecting her, like her appearance? And he's like, let's stop talking about this, But she's like, it's disrespectful that you would go as far to say that. Like, how do you not know that that's not okay to say? And he's just like, because he thinks he's going to get away with it. And he may. He probably has so many times before. And basically, they continue to have the 50th version of the same fight. I'm just like, girl, yes, he's disrespected you in bringing up your family. That definitely crosses a line. But this should show you that he has no limits. He will do whatever it takes to get what he wants. He's that desperate for a threesome. And he's not going to stop for your comfort. So you need to get yourself out. And so she starts breaking down because she's like, oh God, I've been such a stupid bee, but I care for him so much, but this is not okay, and I have to end this cycle. And so she's like, tells him that she needs to end it. And he's like, no. He doesn't say no, but his body language is like, come on, babe, come on. And he gives her a towel. He holds her face. He's trying to be all cute. He's giving her the eyes. And she's like, stop. I know what you're doing. And ultimately, it ends with him just staring at her and her breaking down on this boat. They're in the middle of the ocean. So now my question is, will she break the cycle? Because I'm not too convinced. Let's move on to Shawn and Alliya. It was a super short segment, but it gave us a lot, okay? So Shawn and Alliya are going to dinner. This is Shawn's last night, I believe. And Alliya has a lot on her mind. The vibes are off. So aside from that regular heartache that you have when your partner has to go away for a bit, Alliya also has this like cloud over her head where she's like, we need to really unpack the open relationship situation. She has this unsettling feeling. And so this open relationship is not one that she eagerly consented to. He kind of just said, this is the way it is. And she was in too deep. But she doesn't want to bring that into their marriage. And so the reason she's bringing it up again at dinner is because when she brought it up at their apartment, which we saw in the last episode, apparently he was really dismissive and he ended up changing the subject. So she's like, I want clarity before you go. And so I was surprised when she told him, she was like, listen, you can continue to be in an open relationship until I get to America, but once we get married and I'm there, I would like it to be monogamous. And I thought that was really generous because, again, even though they're both in an open relationship, Alliya isn't doing anything with those liberties. Shawn is. So I thought that was very big of her. And so Shawn says, yeah, when you get to America, that's the goal. And that to me doesn't sound like, yeah, as soon as you get here, I'm going to do it. That sounds to me like, yeah, eventually when I get tired of my plaything, yeah, I'll just be with you. That's what that sounded like to me. But maybe I'm just reading too much into it. You guys can let me know. And so Alliya has more to say. And Shawn is like, you have more than that? Alliya goes, if you're going to hook up with people, I would like it to be people that aren't really around in your day-to-day. And I get that. She's like, I don't want you to have some emotional tie to someone and that I'm having to run into them at places because they're still in your life. And again, she's letting him be with other people. I think that is generous. Shawn goes, well, it would be unsafe for me to do it with strangers, so I don't do that. I like to keep it with someone that I'm comfortable with. And I get the safety is a big thing, but I also feel like if these are the terms that your partner that you're going to marry sets and you can't do it, then you should just stay monogamous. Or find something that works for the both of you. But right now, Shawn is giving the energy that he just wants things that work for him and screw Alliya's comfort, you know? And so Shawn admits to us, but not Alliya, so this is to the producers, that he has been hooking up with an ex-boyfriend that is now a friend that he's been seeing casually, but they're like, we're not going to be anything more. And that he doesn't plan on removing this friend from his life. So, it sounds to me like you're getting your cake and eating it too, because this is someone that you still have an emotional connection with, even if it's not romantic. That's a lie. And you're also intimate with, and you're also choosing to not remove them to make space for your fiance. That sounds to me like you're marrying the wrong person. So again, he doesn't share those details with Alliya. All that he tells her in this dinner is that he's not one to throw people away. And obviously Alliya's pissed. She's keeping it poised, but she's like, he's dismissing my needs again. And this just really put a bad taste in my mouth on Shawn, because he's, again, just worried about getting his way. And again, he's keeping Alliya in the dark in a conversation where she's asking to be enlightened, in a conversation where she's asking for transparency. He's going out of his way to keep her away from the things that she's asking for. That is very dismissive and selfish and, quite honestly, just uncomfortable. And I am no longer cheering for Shawn and Alliya. Alliya can do much better. Let's move on to the next. Madelein and Luke. This is another vacation gone to hell. Luke is trying to drink his worries away. He's pissed that Madelein admitted to sleeping in the same bed with someone, but didn't admit to being topless and didn't apologize for how it makes him feel and how it makes their relationship look. So he's here drinking in this fur coat, and in comes her with another fur coat. They look so ridiculous. And so again, in this conversation, she admits what he already knows, that she did sleep in a bed with someone. Apparently it was like a drunk guy at a party, but she says that she didn't do anything wrong. Luke is like, why do you have a guy in my apartment, one, but also sleeping with you? And whether she was intimate with the guy or not, I think that that was a pretty intimate act, to sleep with someone that isn't your family in the same bed. And she refuses to apologize. Madeleine is acting like she's on the higher moral ground, and it's startling. And so Luke is like, you know what? I'm going to bring this back around. And he uses this as a bargaining chip. He's like, well, after this, I definitely need a prenup. And on top of that, he's like, and I need you to apologize, like, for how this has made me feel. And she flat out says no. I'm not apologizing. For what? Apologize to a man? And that's usually my stance when you are right. Madeleine is very wrong in this situation. And on top of that, she doubles down and she's like, it's me who needs to figure out if I want to be with you. That's crazy. I was stunned when I heard that. And on top of everything, I think why Luke is extra worried is that this isn't the first rumor that he's heard about her, because she's put herself in sketchy situations. And I want to be harsh on Madeleine, but I can't, because she's 19. She's a literal teenager. Her brain hasn't developed. She doesn't know better. Luke is the bigger weirdo for being with a teenager, in my opinion. And so even though these two haven't solved a thing and the vibes are very tense, the next day he had already booked like a boat ride. And so Luke is moping because he just feels like Madeleine doesn't care about him. And so they're on this boat ride and he's moping and she's looking away. And all of a sudden she starts crying. They were in silence this whole time. And so she's crying. And she very stoically is like, I'm sorry for making you doubt me. I'm sorry that I made you believe that I didn't love you. Something like that. And the way she's saying it, it's almost like monotone. And she later shares with the producers that she just has a hard time with being vulnerable and saying sorry. And it comes from her being super independent. She had to grow up really fast because her parents weren't really around. And so she says that in being independent, she's been very selfish, and that Luke is helping her with that, with what it looks like to love other people. And I was like, okay, that is illuminating. I can give her props for recognizing that if it were to be the other way around and she were to have heard that Luke was doing X amount of things, she would have lost it too. And so I'm glad that she said that. I wish that she would have told him that, but we love a self-aware queen. So Luke, of course, forgives her, but he's like, can you please stop putting yourself in sketchy positions? Because I can't take another rumor like this. Like, I think that it would be done for me. And the funny thing about it is that these two weirdly work. They shouldn't, but they do. And I feel like they'll probably make it. I'm not saying it's going to be a good, healthy, happy relationship, but I just feel like they just put up with each other. So that's my theory on them. And even though Luke did forgive her, he is still like, okay, well, I'm ready to get past this, but we still need another conversation because I'm not getting married if we don't get a prenup. And I don't know if I believe him. I feel like he would marry her anyway. What do you guys think? So the last couple is Kyle and Annie. And as you guys recall, Annie thought that she could have gotten pregnant. She could have been ovulating. So she's like, Kyle, please get me a plan B. He's supposed to come to her house for dinner. He shows up empty-handed. And she's like, where's the plan B? And he's like, about that. So this is where we pick up, okay? Annie is pissed because she's like, he's so disrespectful, so inconsiderate of my needs. And she says that she's looking at him differently. And so she's catching up with everything that we know. We're like, girl, what are you doing here? She's another one that thinks that she's in love. I'm just like, you're not in love. You're caught up in the fantasy. You're caught up in not wanting to be lonely. You're caught up in wanting to have a family. You don't know this man, therefore you can't love him. And so Kyle, with his smug face, instead of apologizing, he's just like, I want to show you something. And he pulls up his STD tests and she's like, okay, like what does this have to do with anything? Did you just switch the topic to get me to shut up? Like, why are you showing me this? And as you guys recall, he got these tests done because he had been having coitus with other people that she didn't know about. So this is his way, I guess, to like build trust, but she didn't know to begin with. So there's already deceit. And so he shows her the test and she's like, this is a weird time to bring this up. Can you elaborate? She outright asks him, when was the last time that you were intimate? He tells her about the other trips that he took. And she was like, weird that you weren't honest with me when I've been so honest with you about my ex. And to that I said, Annie, what ex? Tell us more. So apparently Annie had like a casual relationship with some guy and she had been seeing him a lot, especially because her and Kyle hadn't met. They had just FaceTimed. So according to her, she's been very transparent about the fact that this guy has been, in and out of her life. And so Kyle is like, you haven't really been transparent because when was the last time that you saw him? Did you see him before I got here? And Annie's like, yes. Okay, Annie. And you can tell that she definitely hooked up with him. She doesn't flat out say it. She's trying to be coy, but it's implied. And so Kyle begins to fixate on it because he's like, it was so close to the time that I came. And I'm just like, what's different about it than what you do? Like, you've been intimate with multiple people. And I think his rationale is, well, there's no emotional connection with that. And you've had an emotional connection with this guy. And to that I say, cheating is cheating. I also am not a believer that you are together until you see each other. If y'all are just virtual dating, I'm sorry, that's not a relationship. So yeah, so he's acting all hurt because he's like, it's taken a lot for me to have this connection with you and you're technically cheating on me. Interesting take, sir. So they're having this heated conversation and Annie is like, well, it's not any different from what you're doing. So let's pivot to our future. If we have one, I don't want to be with someone that's going to constantly donate. And she shares that it's just, there's a lot that goes with the donation. And he's creepy and skeevy because apparently He sometimes recruits people allegedly online. If someone will comment on a picture, or like someone will be like, oh my God, I want you to help me donate. And he's like, well, I gotta help her. And so Annie's like, on top of knowing that you're being intimate with people, I have to see you flirt online? Yeah, no, I don't want that. And so ultimately he's like, well, I need to be with someone that's okay with it. And she's like, well, I am not, so I will be done with this. And she walks off. And as she's walking off crying, I'm thinking, girl, this is your home. Kick him out. Make sure he's out the door. And Kyle is very hurt because he just really wanted it to work. And he's like fake crying for the cameras. He's like, I never wanted to hurt her, but she just wants too many changes and I just can't have that. Eventually he does leave, but it looks like they're going to see each other again in the next episode. And I'm just like, this is another relationship where they're forcing it. They need to release themselves, particularly Annie. But yeah, you guys, that was the end of this episode. I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens in the next because it looks dramatic. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.